thing somewhere. Oh, all right. Are you all right if we pinch on the foam there?
Yeah.
What's your frequency? Oh, we're not. We're going to be different. Never mind.
Yeah, we
We're the Soul Chunky Cinema.
we used to have those.
And then you wised up.
Well,
Right. They're not that great. Hey, Brett. Were you
It's weirdly chilly out. Isn't
I know, it's like, it just came in too, because this morning we were sweating.
It? Yeah.
all right?
All right.
Totally. We're gonna, no, we're gonna, so you have some time.
The TV people would prefer you don't.
Yeah, I agree. Wear them until you're ready to
See
go.
your eyeballs. Yeah.
Do you have any ideas of folks that we can text?
Oh, I'm gonna put it right here.
From like an employer standpoint. Mike has texted Rob Cohen, and we're hoping that could work.
I would say that we'll do like quotes from. We can connect people to folks later.
Yeah, Fox 31 is being a little adamant about it, but which is fine.
Hello.
Yeah.
Good to see you. Good to see you. I love the purple suit. Oh, thank you.
Hi there. Well, how are you? Hi, I'm Brazil.
I'm
with the
Deborah.
partnership.
Nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Did you put the lotion on? You don't smell so good. I smell somebody's lotion. Does it smell?
I can't smell.
Don't smell it.
It smells really good, so I'm sorry you missed it.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
Unless somebody changes, your comments are in
no,
here
no,
too.
they're fine. Yeah. Oh, cool. Good. And they're right there, and I can just flip. Yep, I'll just use them as a guidepost.
Cool.
And you'll turn it back to Tammy.
Exactly.
Yep. Good stuff.
Well, good to go.
Fabulous.
This is your first in-person like press conference.
No,
You had one last.
I had one last week.
Oh, in person?
Yeah, it was for the 5th anniversary of the A-Law.
Oh, yep.
And basically, we had to move it inside, or we were going to be out here as well.
But it was raining, right? Snowing.
I know, I was looking at the weather today, yesterday, and the sun's out.
Sun's out.
Yes.
We all have a vested interest, right?
There's good energy about it. Feels like. You know, Brett, I think we can say that we can connect with someone else.
Have you met Mike Johnson before? He is the head of Gary Community Investments, and he's a former state senator. So he'll be here. I mean, he's going to be
Are you back in the office?
Well, even back this week.
Oh, you have.
Yeah.
Oh, that's today.
No,
No,
not
last
here.
May. Last May, okay.
We never know.
No, I wasn't sure. It's so hard to tell with people's background or virtual or whatever.
We didn't because, we're essential workers. We have clean the streets and things. And then since we did that, we were like, oh, that's nice. We have enough space to do it, so we just did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we have all these groups that are now starting to come back. Coming back after that long, that's hard. That's a hard transition. It's
I mean,
awkward.
I've been working from home, so I mean,
language is great.
Good job, Josh.
Oh, it is.
So, I don't know, were you in those conversations about what happened in this area? I know, because I know that I'm asking who are the others who help. Somebody's been about multiple times. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly, right?
You know?
Yep, I agree.
And it does just move around. It's like whack-a-mole.
Yeah, that's all it is. And I think once there's more activity down here, then there'll be a lower potential for folks to just be so people might have
Yeah. Totally visible. Do you know? Have you met Evan Breyer in person, the deputy chief? of
Oh, I
staff?
haven't met him in person, but we meet
Yeah.
hence he's talking about this.
Yeah, we were on the call with him this morning too with Evan and Breyer. This is like he's a great guy. Red for governor. Day where your mind is like, you know something, like somebody's name that's in the life of you, you think they know.
Yep. Definitely.
You feel free to clip it up here if you need.
Thank you very much. You got it?
Mic check. Mic check. 1, 2. Mic check. Mic check.
How are you doing?
Good to see
You're on mute. They all look the same to me.
This is be a text now, so I'll be able to. I'll keep an eye out. I have not.
Amazing. And so,
Oh, nice to meet you.
and I told Nine that we were sending some other texts, so there might be another option, but they were totally great.
Mic check. Mic check.
He writes stories we like.
Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check on the cameras. You good? Mic check. We good on cameras? Thumbs up. Great.
If you go all the way back, yeah, at least 10, maybe more, since 2011. Yeah, so nice to meet you. I hope everything's going well. I know you guys got your hands full. Right?
That is the phrase of the day.
Want me to take your sunglasses so your eyes can adjust?
Okay.
And then just remember to stay in front of the podium, but you will be using the camera.
Okay.
Because they're recording for the cameras here, but we'll be using this for PA.
Is the mayor here yet?
The mayor is not here. This guy's waiting for him right there. Oh, is that him? He's waiting. Yes, but stay behind the podium. The cameras are recording from the podium. The PA system's on the camera.
We need to catch up about that.
Yes.
So nice to meet you.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, they got my call.
Yes. Oh, yes. Did we someone have something?
Oh,
first,
thank you.
maybe?
I think that's a good idea. I don't have to. Yeah. What do you need? Okay. Great. Hey, Amy, I wonder. He is over there, I think.
So far, there he is. She doesn't have any. Oh, no. Yes, oh yeah.
Hi Dan, how you doing?
Hey, how are you? Hey, real quick, after this, will there be someone we'll be able to talk to one-on-one?
Rob Collins,
Just
IMA
like two or three,
Financial.
just two or three questions.
And this is Sheree Sayers from the Gary Community Investment.
Hey, nice to meet
Mike
you.
Johnson.
Nice to almost see you. Hey, just somebody that can you know, general stuff after.
Yep, totally. All right. Nice meeting.
Tammy, this is going to be on, so you're aware. And these are all on as well.
You guys ready? Ready to roll? I'm ready. I'm always ready. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Well, we've been through a pretty incredible year. We have sacrificed a lot, but we've all done our part, and now we're here, ready to take the next step. So we've stood tall over the last year, and now it's time to move into the next phase, and that's what we're here to talk about today. I'm Tammy Dorr, President and CEO of the Downtown Denver Partnership. On behalf of the partnership, Gary Community Investments, COVID Check Colorado, the City and County of Denver, and RTD, I'm really excited to welcome you all here today to talk about Denver's Ready. This is a collaborative effort to welcome employees back to their Denver offices. With rising downtown pedestrian counts, rising increases in vaccinations and testing abilities, Denver's ready to emerge from the shadow of COVID-19. And we are ready to re-energize our businesses and our beloved Center City. Over the course of the pandemic, and increasingly so in the recent months and weeks, partners in the Denver's Ready campaign have been working to diligently ensure a safe, welcoming downtown for employees to return, residents to enjoy, and visitors to partake in all that we have to offer. The partnership, through the bid and the work of the city, have worked hard to keep downtown clean and safe throughout this past year. Gary Community Investments and COVID Check Colorado have made testing and vaccines more accessible, and downtown businesses, including restaurants and retailers, have been absolutely diligent in implementing health and safety protocols. But there's no question about it, Denver is ready. The coalition behind Denver's Ready is more than 150 companies strong. This number continues to grow every single day. We are calling on business leaders to help keep the momentum going with the reopening of our offices. Take the pledge. Stand alongside other Denver business leaders and begin to reopen your offices. By joining the Denver's Ready Coalition, employers have access to resources like workplace protocols, customizable communication plans, and a built-in network of leaders and experts who can help ease the return to work in their transition for companies of all sizes and of all scales. Again, after standing tall throughout the pandemic, it's time for us all to step up and to help reopen our economy even further. Let's get back to our offices and back to our communities. Denver's ready for you, and it's now my pleasure to turn it over to an incredible community leader and a partner in this endeavor. Please join me in welcoming Mike Johnson, CEO of Gary Community Investments and Chair of COVID Check Colorado. Welcome, Mike.
Let's see, I'm following all of our safety and health protocols here. Hello, y'all. Thank you so much. Great to see you. I turned it off. Thank you all so much for being here. It is such an exciting day for us. As Tammy mentioned, I'm the CEO of Gary Community Investments. We are housed right here at Union Station, and we are delighted to partner with Downtown Denver Partnership, with the mayor, with RTD, and our partners across the city to be able to mark this new moment in our recovery from the COVID crisis. When we started about a year ago, our foundation is dedicated to supporting low-income kids and their families getting access to opportunity. And we knew when the crisis first hit, and we had 500,000 Coloradans out of work, we had more than 500,000 kids who were out of school, we knew that was going to be a crisis that would disproportionately fall on those families that had the least capacity to respond. And so we started with an idea of, could we help school districts find a way to reopen safely? And we knew the major barrier for that was going to be, could they get regular access to COVID testing? And so we launched this effort, COVID Check, led by Eric Perry, who is here, who's done an incredible job, to be able to make testing easily available to people around the state. We use that to help open more than 100 schools and school districts, providing teachers regular access to testing every 2 weeks, and students regular access to testing when they were symptomatic or were at risk. That played a huge part in helping reopen schools, but we knew that was only part of the problem. We knew that kids had to be able to go back to school so that parents could go back to work. But now that we've been able to make efforts and progress on that, we now know the real key is to make sure we can reopen the economy and reopen it in a way that it serves everybody. And so while there are many of us that have the luxury of being able to work remotely, we know there are many of the jobs at the heart of this city that require being in person. And we know if these workplaces don't come back to in-person work, many of those jobs that rely on us walking out for a drink or going over to a restaurant or walk over to retail also won't come back. Colorado Restaurant Association tells us right now there are still almost 100,000 jobs in the restaurant industry that have not returned. For those jobs to return, we need to return to that same prospect of life that we had in some ways before COVID, if we can provide all the protections that we know we need. That's why we're delighted to partner today to make sure, one, that testing is regularly available to anybody who wants it. So you'll see these walk-up testing sites throughout the downtown area, and also helping people get access to vaccines across the metro area. We have vaccination appointments available right now today at our 5th Street garage, less than 10 blocks from here. So people will have easy, regular access to get vaccines if they need it, regular testing if they need it, and the kind of office protocols Tammy mentioned to make sure employees know they're coming back to safe and welcoming environments. I would just close by saying a year ago, we were all called on in a moment of crisis to do our part to help take care of our neighbors. That meant staying home, that meant quarantining, that meant taking all the protections that were required to keep people safe. I think we are now called on in a different way to look after our neighbors again, which is how do we make sure that when this economy recovers, it recovers for everybody. And that's why what we want is an opportunity for people to come back to Denver in a way that is safe, that is protected, but that also begins to bring back some of the wonderful livelihood of Denver that people have always known. That's why we're also delighted to partner with the Rockies. Nothing says being back to normal like being able to leave work early on a Tuesday afternoon and go to a Rockies game. And so the Rockies have donated thousands of tickets for us to help support those businesses who are going to return in person as a way to incentivize people to come downtown, be vaccinated, and return to the things that make Denver wonderful to enjoy. So we know one of the critical parts of being able to get to work and get to downtown is public transit. And that's why we're so delighted to get to partner with RTD and have their leadership in making sure that transit is available to all and safe for all who want to use it. And so I'm delighted to bring up next Deborah Johnson, our fearless leader of RTD.
Well, good morning to all, and thank you to the Downtown Denver Partnership for having me today and recognizing the important role that public transportation plays in Denver Ready. RTD's transit services are keenly interwoven into the fabric of the community, and the critical threads represent the connectivity and economic vitality of the core. As we welcome back more people to downtown into our system, RTD remains ready and committed to working with the Denver Downtown Partnership to ensure we are ready. Through this ongoing partnership, I want you to know my team is ready to deliver customers to their destinations, not only to employment sites, but also to the extensive variety of dining and entertainment experiences that are available downtown. Returning to transit may take some time for some, and I recognize that many people might be hesitant to use our services because they haven't done so for nearly a year. But I want to assure you that every one of our employees remains committed to keeping our customers as well as their peers safe. There is a growing body of research that indicates public transit is not a super spreader of the coronavirus. More so, we at RTD have implemented additional safety precautions on our system, including a mask requirement, along with enhanced daily cleaning and sanitizing of our buses, rail cars, and facilities. We provide mobile ticketing options to provide safe, contactless payment methods for our customers, and we continue to collaborate with local health officials to follow all public health orders and protocols. We monitor customer use of the system with an eye to modify service as the pandemic eases, we don't want it to arise. So RTD is a significant component of the economic vitality of the region, and so many of us have come to realize how important transit is. And so recognizing that, we remain primed and ready to get the region moving again. So with that, thank you, and I will yield the mic to Tammy Dorr.
Thank you. And, a formal public welcome, although it's been a while. Welcome to Denver. We're fortunate to have had your leadership, especially in such a challenging year. It's great to have you here. So as we begin to talk about what it looks like when we reopen, it's going to take a public sector investment. It's going to take a private sector investment. It's going to take all of us. As Mike referenced, in order to get the economy open in a way that's equitable for all, those that are able to come in to our center city and support this wide array of businesses that are down here are going to really transform the way we actually get reopened. And a big part of this will take place under the leadership of our mayor, Mayor Michael Hancock. He has helped carry our city through this pandemic. His commitment to downtown and the business community has been strong throughout. Here today to talk about the City and County of Denver's commitment to Denver's Ready is Mayor Michael Hancock.
Thanks, TD. Well, good morning, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here, of course, to stand with Tammy Dorr and the Downtown Denver Partnership, RTD, and the leadership of Deborah Johnson, and of course, my good personal friend, Mike Johnston, who now runs Gary's Community. As been stated already, this has been a tough year. It's been a tough year for all of us, but especially for our workers and businesses. And this pandemic has certainly hit some industries harder than others. Industries such as our construction industry, our restaurant industry, our hospitality industry, and of course, tourism. Many of those businesses and workers are right here in downtown Denver. Many people, we are excited to finally say, are getting their vaccine and hopefully helping us to put this pandemic behind us. And we are beginning to see kind of the brimming of new energy, new excitement, and the release, freedom, if you will, because of the vaccine rates that we are seeing. And so we want to thank COVID, Check Colorado, and many other healthcare partners from across the city and the state for helping us get to this point. Everyone has worked hard to get us here by wearing their masks, by social distancing, and of course by getting vaccinated. We do have a few other groups that we got to work hard to bring their numbers up, but I'll tell you that overall we're doing well in Denver. We can be doing better, but we're going to continue to get stronger, continue to do things to get people convinced that they should get the vaccination. And downtown, as you know, is the heart of our city. It's the heart of our community and our local economy. It's weathered a lot since March, but has shown the same resiliency that the people of this city have shown in terms of getting through this pandemic. we can start to take this next step because Denver's ready to get back on its feet, as Tammy has, I think, very appropriately said. And our businesses here in downtown are ready to welcome back their employees and customers and get back up and running. We've got warmer weather on the horizon, thankfully, and many restaurants downtown have expanded their patios, yes, which helps with distancing, keeping customers safe while we support their business. And as a part of our economic recovery plan, our patio expansion program has been extended through October of 2022. So that's pretty exciting. You guys enjoying the expanded patios, everyone? Yeah. So with more workers returning to offices and our own city employees transitioning back over the next several months, that foot traffic will mean a shot in the arm for these businesses and other shops and stores working hard to keep their doors open. Denver's ready to welcome people back to downtown. We cannot say that enough. Denver's ready. We're ready to welcome people back downtown and to do it safely because we're committed to doing what was necessary to get us on the other side of this pandemic, and we're going to continue to do that as we work toward the horizon of true freedom. It's taken a lot of hard work for us to get here, and it's been helped only by the perseverance of the people of this city and the commitment by our local organizations. So I'm going to repeat what we have always said from the very beginning. Now we can say it very clearly. Get your vaccine. Walk up and get your vaccine. It's easy to do, and it's quick. And we're ready to reacquaint ourselves and to re-experience what downtown has to offer. And if we do what we have to do, we can do it sooner than later. And so we're excited. Tammy, glad to join with you in saying Denver's ready. Let's go.
Denver's ready. Thank you, Mayor. So we're all available to take questions at this time. Do we have any that we want to start off with?
I understand some offices are doing like a hybrid model, maybe looking in 2-3 days, but not fully coming back. Just kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, so the question was, what are different offices doing? Some are looking at a hybrid model, a few days a week, transitioning in. I would say that in our conversations with CEOs, it runs the gamut, depending on the sector, depending on what type of client base they have, who they need to meet with. It's different across the board. The transition piece is really where we're finding that companies are starting out with 1 or 2 days a week and then working up from there. The one thing that I can share with you across the board has been that CEOs are ready to have their teams together. That was shared with us loud and clear, that they need that culture and they need that community. So how they do it during the transition varies, but they were definitely committed to making those moves. In terms of long-term hybrid options, I would say that as a society, we won't know for the next 36 months what that really looks like. Companies will try different approaches. They'll see how it works, and they'll adjust as to what works best for them or their industry sector. Do we?
When do you expect pedestrian levels to get close to pre-COVID levels? By the All-Star game?
You know, we were looking at that point anyway, even before we knew we had the opportunity to win the All-Star game. And I said that at the time that we announced, we felt that by the end of June, early July, 4th of July holiday, we would begin to turn the corner as a community. And so with the All-Star game, we feel quite confident that, yes, we'll be back at full pedestrian counts, and we'll have a vibrant, full downtown. We expect, as we stated, the governor and I stated on the day we announced that we expect the ballpark to be full. And I just left a briefing with Major League Baseball that's in town preparing for the All-Star game, and we reiterated that commitment. We got to continue to encourage people to get vaccinated, and that's the key. Those vaccination rates will help bring our daily case rate down, hospitalization rates down. All those contribute to our sense of optimism toward July 13th week, where we will be hosting the All-Star Weekend. Say it one more.
We do.
You got them? Yeah, the data.
Yes. So the question is about the data. What do we have available on pedestrian traffic? On the Downtown Denver, downtowndenver.com website, on the main page, we run a high-frequency data report whereby we are tracking pedestrian traffic for visitors, office workers, and residents. So you can see that steadily tick up. In general terms, the evening and weekend traffic is looking extremely positive, and the daily office traffic is picking up every day. So people definitely want to get out at night and on the weekends. So there's a lot to offer, but you can check that for additional data. We have over 150 businesses that have committed to open or have already been open and are expediting their transition in terms of opening effective in May. Yes, I'm going to ask Mike to step up. The question really related to when we don't have all of our 145,000 plus office workers down here every day throughout the past year, that absolutely impacts some of these small businesses like coffee shops and restaurants. And this is really important to Gary, and I'll have Mike maybe talk about how that really impacts our economy and people in general.
Thanks so much, Tammy. Yeah, so I think that one of the things when we talk to business leaders is for those industries that can be fully remote, whether it's law or finance or business, not much change in workforce. For people that are running restaurants or coffee shops or retail organizations, many of them cut during the pandemic to 30% of their previous employment. And so if you had 100 employees, you're down to 30. And many of those numbers haven't returned. And so while you'll see, yes, maybe your favorite coffee shop or your favorite bar, or your favorite restaurant is open, when you look closely, you'll see they have about 1/3 of the servers or the kitchen staff that they had before. And that's because you simply can't bank on the volume that you had previously. So if you're at 20% or 50% of volume, you have 20% or 50% of staffing. And so we think the real opportunity here is for those people that have the flexibility to say, no, I'm making a choice to come back and be in person because I am vaccinated. I do believe in bringing all of these jobs back, and I know that going to my local coffee shop or bar or restaurant is going to mean those 70,000 or 100,000 jobs in hospitality will actually come back is a massive change. Those jobs, as you probably know, are disproportionately held by women, disproportionately held by people of color in the city, and so we think this is a real important place for the city of Denver to take a stand to make sure this recovery is equitable. And Eric, if you want to come up and take this, feel free to. The question was about whether or not there are other vaccine partnerships with COVID. Right now, we have mass vaccination sites. The one at Commerce City we're helping run, plus one in Pueblo and down in Colorado Springs. And I think at this stage, we're trying to push as many people as we can to those locations. We're also doing door-to-door canvassing. We're knocking on doors in neighborhoods that we know are likely to be underserved, those that are disproportionately low income, or communities of color that don't have access, to make sure we're going to them to make those vaccines available. And that's had great success in increasing the percentage of people of color who are getting access to vaccines. So we're both willing to go to them as well as making it easy for them to come to us. Eric, anything you want to add on vaccine availability for businesses?
Yeah, I would just say that it's been
Come on up. Eric runs our COVID check platform here at Gary Community Investments.
Yeah, I would just say that vaccination is becoming more and more available thanks to really powerful partnerships from the grassroots all the way up to the governor's office. So CDPHE has partnered with Centura Health to help run those and operate those sites in Pueblo, Commerce City, and the Springs. We're also teamed up with Denver Health and HCA Health One to operate sites in Aurora, Thornton, Lone Tree, and right here in our own backyard in Denver. And increasingly, employers are teaming up to actually make doses available directly to their employees, and that's something that we're really excited about and really encouraged. We've seen over and over again that folks are accessing services and helping take care of each other when they're hearing the right messages from the folks they trust the most. And often that's the very same teammates and managers that they work with every day at the office. And so having that message come through those partners is critical, and that's increasingly happening, which is leading to good results.
And, you know, we talk a lot about creating an equitable comeback. And throughout this last year, people have experienced the pandemic in very different ways, especially in terms of whether or not they were able to retain their employment. The business community is an entire ecosystem. Every business has been built by the success of other businesses. And that's why at this time, businesses that are able to step up and bring their teams back do have a responsibility for our entire economy and all of our employees in Denver to support the return and to help these businesses that have been really pulled back during the pandemic to really relaunch and to thrive. It takes this entire ecosystem to build a resilient and successful city. And so that's part of what Denver's Ready is really all about.
What guidance do you have for employers who want to welcome back employees but also want to ensure that those folks are vaccinated? What advice do you have for employers to kind of navigate what can be kind of tricky?
Do you want to talk about that? Do you want to talk about and I think the question really relates to employees coming back and what kind of obligations employers may or may not place on their employees for vaccination.
Thanks so much. So the most important thing is we want to provide employers the flexibility they need, knowing that each workplace is going to be different. We have provided some legal guidance to all of the folks in the coalition to know answers to some basic questions. For instance, can you as an employer require your employees to get vaccinated? Yes, you can, as long as you provide for exemptions under certain health or religious exemptions that an individual employee might want. Can you ask your employees to be tested regularly if they're not vaccinated? Yes, you can do that as long as you're making access to it. Can you require outside visitors who come to your office for meetings to either show proof of vaccination or of testing in the last 72 hours? We do that here. Yes, that's something you can do. So what we've tried to do is give employees and employers all of the possible tools they need to know, then they can figure out what they think the best system is for themselves. With the governor and the mayor's announcement recently that now indoor meetings of 10 or more with more than 80% of people vaccinated can be unmasked. That means not only could you come back to the office, you can actually come back to the office and have meetings unmasked in the office if your office meets more than 80% of all your employees being vaccinated. So that provides a natural incentive, I think, for employees and employers to say, yes, I want my office experience back, but I want it back in some of the ways I knew it before, which is I could sit in a meeting with someone and look at their face if you actually get to 80% of vaccination rates. So I think that's the kind of information we've made available to employers to help them and their employees make the best decisions.
Hey, Mike, what are employees telling their bosses their biggest hesitancy about coming back?
I should let Tammy answer this because she's talked to the most employers and employees.
We are hearing a lot of employers talk about that employees like this level of flexibility that they received. I will say that in terms of COVID fears or concerns, although by all means there are some employees that have expressed that, the majority of the feedback has really been about the flexibility that they've experienced throughout this year. That's not to negate that some do have some concerns, but overwhelmingly, it really, and anecdotally, was the flexibility. Just a quick step back. I wanted to make sure that you all knew that a lot of those resources and information for businesses and employees who really want to understand what it means to return back to the office are available on denversready.com. So we're trying to make sure that nobody has to return alone. There's an entire community and business community that's come together to make sure that you can ask others who have been back for most of this year about their experiences and work with others who have already just recently transitioned back about their best practices and what they've learned throughout.
Is that flexibility for employees still going to be there, or is there any guidance on what businesses can do with employees who don't feel comfortable coming back?
Well, I think in terms of flexibility, that's a work culture issue, and I think that's different for every company. Every company wants to create the type of environment that attracts the type of talent that they need to be successful. I don't think that this is actually that new. Many companies have looked culturally at how they set up their work structures, and I think that the last year has allowed people to experiment with a lot of different varieties and technologies as to how people can work together. So as I mentioned earlier, I believe we're 36 months out before we really understand what this does or doesn't do in terms of what an office environment looks like, and I think it's going to run a continuum. I'll also add the beauty of Denver and this incredible place and space that we're in right now is that we are growing like crazy. The companies that are here are growing. We are getting calls daily from the coast about companies that want to move here. So even as we look at unique and hybrid work models, the message loud and clear is that our center city and downtown and this office market's going to continue to thrive. I'm not able to speak to that. Did you? Yeah, that falls within the individual companies. So, and what their policies and procedures are, that really is probably more of a legal and a corporate question.
Excuse me. I understand that some of the state guidance is a bit more flexible and lenient than city guidance, and I wondered if that would be aligned. What policies are you speaking to? What policies are you speaking to? For example, yeah, you can take it off. You're outside. For example, mask guidance. I believe that the governor recently provided some guidance that
He did.
allowed for, I think, the reference to the vaccination of 80% only for masks and office. However, currently in Denver, it's more restricted. So I wonder if that would be allowed. And we have those. We have that freedom within the local municipality and the county, based on our county demographics and our county data. The question he's asking is, at times our policies in Denver are different than what the state is mandating. The governor says that if you're indoors and you got 80% of the people indoors who are vaccinated, you can take your mask off. Denver still restricts, has a different policy. And we are monitoring our policy. It's still in place for, I think, another week or so. But we committed to looking at every 30 days to see how our data on a county level is working. And we remain committed to that. We may very well align with what the state is doing once we look at the county data and make a decision. But we have to have the ability as a county, because our demographic and our density is much different than many parts of the state. Where in some parts of the state, 80% easily achieved, and taking masks off indoors not a problem. In Denver, with our density, it's a much different ball game in terms of our interaction with people. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you.
I think it might be helpful, actually, if we invite Deborah back up. We are receiving a lot of questions about transportation and transit. And this is something we think it's really important that as companies begin to return back, that the leadership in those companies have a good understanding of what is happening around transit. And I know, Deborah, you talked about it a little bit, but I think it might be helpful if you touch on it a little bit more, and because we have received a lot of questions around this.
Thank you so much, Tammy. So one thing for sure, as I stated in my comments, that we are working in partnership. And so basically for us, in working in tandem with the Denver partnership and ascertaining what people envision relative to occupancy, we are ready to pivot to ensure that we can provide service to get people where they need to go. So quite naturally, we are collaborating. We too are looking at the data, trying to determine what service levels will be needed, recognizing we're going to host the All-Star game. We will be primed and at the ready to transport people as well. So I think the vital importance of all of this is being highly communicative with a myriad of different entities, so we ensure that we have the level of service to provide to individuals, and basically working in conjunction with the transit management organizations and transit management agencies, associations, excuse me, it enables us to garner a better understanding of where we're going forward. We actually have a service change taking place in the next couple of weeks. That's predicated upon what we see with ridership levels. We could be increasing the span of service, decreasing headways, meaning that instead of a bus coming every 20 minutes, perhaps it could be 15 where there is a need. Because right here in the Central Business District, we have seen the need to have a higher level of service, and those routes have been transporting people because we have a lot of essential workers that needed to get to their places of employment. So with that as the backdrop, we're staying primed, staying in tune, and being quick and ready to pivot, and working in conjunction with our union partners as well in relationship to adjusting schedules if that is the need to do so. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, so what's the most important thing that we need everybody to take with them today? Again? Denver's ready and excited, and we're more ready than any other city in this country, and I think this community is more ready than ever to get back to the business of living in and building a great city. Thank you, everyone.